Hello, hello. First on the floor, live trade deadline stream. Lots going on, including me being under my very leaky house. We've got Spoonie and Jake in the house. Guys, can we just talk about your trade deadline journey thus far? I know you guys have both been awake a little longer than me so far today.
Well, this is a real big role reversal. Spoonie has natural light, so
beautiful.
He's never looked more attractive, which is already a high bar, and he's looking beautiful. Whereas Ben looks like he's in heaven or in hell, I think, depending on what you want. And I've been awake since 3 a.m. It's now
Amazing.
6 a.m. I've got orange cinnamon tea mixed with Fireball for 6 a.m.
Oh my God.
And we're feeling good. We're living life.
I had to
Awesome.
work this morning, afternoon off, so
Yes.
cracking a few beers, gonna talk with the boys a little bit, but just been
go.
following along. There's been so many trades, I feel like I'm gonna say something dumb, like, oh, maybe we could get that guy, and he got traded at like 1:10 p.m. today, but hey,
That's
we're just
fine.
rolling with it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a safe space. This is not going to go up on the podcast feed, so we're just kicking back, hanging out, waking up in my case, and talking about the Celtics and all the trades that have gone on. And shout out to everyone in the chat. I'm D-Zach saying, Ben, ready to be first to bed. I'm just literally out of bed like 10 minutes ago, so bear with me. So what we've got up here is, this is a tweet deck. This is a live tweet stream with all of the newsbreakers, including Jake Eisenberg, on this live tweet stream. So as the tweets come through live on Twitter, they'll come through live on this screen, so we can all be here to react to the news together as the deadline approaches. We've also got the Reddit trade tracker. So maybe that's a good place to start, guys, while we wait for news to roll in.
Dude.
As I try and get my Zoom happening
What is-
here. Reverse chronological? What do you think?
Yeah, let's start with that one just because I think it's definitely relevant for the Celtics. So we had Trill Brodeed on the podcast earlier this week, and so I was just inside their stream, and obviously that's a Sixers-centric podcast, and being there for when they made this trade was very insightful. That it felt like it was like a 9/11 incident for these guys. They were like, he's
That's been good.
He's been good, but two, they just love him. He's become like a legit fan favorite. Like any of these Northeast teams, a guy that's like going to be grit and grind. He's going to be like a little overly serious and delusional about how good he is. Just first to the floor. He'd become a guy that everybody really resonated with, and had been good. And so they trade him to the Bucks because Kyle Lowry has now been moved, and the report is essentially that he's definitely going to the Sixers on a buyout. And so there's another little rumor that Pat Bev asked for a trade potentially, but now they're relying on 37-year-old Kyle Lowry too much, whereas like having Pat Bev and Kyle Lowry would have made a lot more sense and been definitely better. And then on the other side, campaign is bad. So I think this technically makes the Bucks better, but he's not solving their fucking point of attack issues.
Yeah, no. I mean, the big problem with Milwaukee is wing defense. They have no wings who can play above average defense. And look, I like Pat Bev. Pat Bev and Kyle Lowry would be the most annoying two guards in the league on the same team, dude. Like that would have been super frustrating. So I just kind of don't get what the Sixers' plan is unless they have like a bigger deal in mind and they want that second round pick as additional pick ammo. But like Pat Bev, he's going to do his Pat Bevy crap, but is he better than Javon Carter at this point? Maybe a little bit.
Same tier of player.
Right, exactly. And, Milwaukee already tried it with Javon and he got played off the court. I think you could probably play Pat Bev, what is he going to play the 2 next to Dame? Like
I know, yeah.
That's like what is his role? 10 minutes a game behind Dame in the playoffs? I just doesn't make a ton of sense for me. And they're low. They're really low on draft assets because they gave 5 seconds for Jay Crowder last year. So like
Idiots.
They need to be
Idiots,
like
you could have just traded one for Tillman.
Yeah, right, exactly. and it just doesn't make a ton of sense to me for really either team unless Philly's just like, screw it, it's over, give me assets. But they made another trade earlier in the day that was like a win now deal. So I just don't get it.
Yeah, Pat Bev, I mean, he at least gives them some form of defensive identity in theory, like in the locker room, a guy to, I guess, like get up, Dame and Middleton and some of their many other subpar defenders and try and at least motivate them and then lead by example in his 10 minutes per game. But like throughout the course of a playoff series, you're probably doing your team more harm than good for having Pat Bev out there, too long. So it's not some scale tipping move for the Bucks there, I think, as far as I'm concerned. But moving on to the other trades that have happened overnight, as we wake up to the realization that David Roddy is now part of the Phoenix Suns bench. They got a little bit of bench depth there, guys. Jake, thoughts?
I don't know if they do. I don't know if David Roddy's very good. I think he's better than Yuta Watanabe, I think, technically, but he's not a great shooter. He's a solid-ish defender. The Phoenix just didn't have a lot of wiggle room here, so they brought in Utah, and they brought in Roddy. Did they bring in someone else potentially? I think I may have seen, but Phoenix and the Celtics have been rumored to kind of be going after. Yeah, Royce O'Neal. That was the guy that actually moves the needle a bit for Brooklyn. And
second round picks, man, so valuable.
Also, if Royce O'Neal makes $8 million, and that's the Brooklyn Nets, how much does Lonnie Walker go for? Not to jump around too much here, but that's what we're kind of hoping to see here in the next 45 minutes is potentially another Brooklyn Net heading to Boston.
Do you guys see Sam Hauser as my default autofill for Spud Rack? I don't know what that says about me as a person.
Mine's Peyton Pritchard for Basketball Reference. So
we're having fun here. Spoody?
So, okay, I'm a huge David Roddy guy. I love David Roddy, but he doesn't make sense to me on Phoenix, right? Because Phoenix, they have 3 high-usage stars that need the ball in their hands. And Yuta is like perfect around guys like that. He is so bad defensively that I think that's what they're looking at with this type of trade. Like, we want guys who can just defend around our big 3, but he doesn't really space the floor. And like his value is like sometimes you can toss it to him against a mismatch and he could just like get to the rim or post somebody up. So like, are you going to do that when he's playing next to Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal? Probably not. So you're just kind of asking him to like defend. But the Royce O'Neal pickup is definitely a good one for Phoenix. I mean, his shooting, like the numbers always feel better than he actually is as a shooter to me. But, he can still defend, although he's, I think, a little bit overrated on the defensive end.
He's lost it a bit.
Yeah, I agreed. So he's kind of lost a step on that end. But I don't know, man. I guess they're just trying to load up on like these big, somewhat versatile wings, even though, wings are hard to get, so I guess they're just like banking on Roddy's got potential. Maybe he'll turn into something. And Royce O'Neal, he can play in a playoff series, right?
Yeah. I think the issue for Phoenix is like, are we closing with Royce O'Neal? And that's like, that's probably where you start to be a little concerned because the numbers aren't like for a 3-point percentage. He's 36.6 this year, 38 the last couple of years. But he is a very willing shooter. Like he gets him up and he gets guarded like a shooter for the most part. No, not a Hauser level shooter. The way that gravity opens up the court, of course. But he at least is a legit shooter. So he would be in their closing lineup maybe right now because they've just been rotating Okogie, Cater beats D-Up, and then Grayson Allen has been the other guy who is their 5th guy. And so Grayson's a much better shooter than Royce O'Neal, but defensively not a plus defender. And so you put Royce O'Neal in that lineup, maybe that makes you better overall. Yeah, good body, should not be a closing fucking starter in the second round of the playoffs. That's not right.
The Suns bench definitely got better though. I think unquestionably on the margins. It's not like they're suddenly terrifying and they've shot straight up to championship contention above all else. But their bench was probably their biggest weak point, and they have improved that. So in terms of a team's goals going into the deadline, can't fault them for making these moves. But I'm not worried about coming head to head with Royce O'Neal in the playoffs anytime soon. If we should be so lucky to even see them in the playoffs, because that of course would be the finals.
I would love of all the Western Conference teams that could make the finals, Phoenix is pretty high on the list. Just no defense to speak of. Nurkic as your center, Booker and Beal as guys that are playing 35 plus minutes a night, like they can't guard the Jays. Like Durant can't guard the Jays, and they have the ability to kind of slow those guys down on the other end. Yeah, exactly. Aussie feel. Suns got better. Celtics in 5. I think it's a great response to the Suns. But yeah, of the like top 6 in the West, if Phoenix was the team, if the Celtics were lucky enough to get to the finals, that would be lovely because Clippers, Thunder, T-Wolves, Nuggets all can defend at a much higher level than the Suns. And so they could squeeze through. That'd be nice. Sadiq Bey, everybody's feeling good after that first half against the Celtics yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And a quick, if that's the move, thoughts, Sadiq Bey?
I mean, he's one of those like theoretically good players, and we know that Brad, like, he has a penchant for Celtics killers. I think that's been demonstrated over his short history as Pobo at this point. So it would be tough to eliminate him from what we know about Brad's preferences for players. And like if we can have the addition of Sadiq Bey without giving too much up. I believe at this point in time, we still do have one open roster spot. He does fit into the TPE. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's kind of a low risk, potentially high reward maneuver for Brad Stevens to make. That said, I'm much higher on Lonnie Walker and several other players as well. So I think that if all else fails and we have to fall back on Sadiq Bey, and that's not to discredit him, I'm sure other teams are jockeying for him as well, then I wouldn't complain. It's just another tool in the tool bag, but he's certainly not my preference at this stage.
Yeah, I'm fine with Sadiq Bey. Like, I think people kind of overrate his defense a little bit, and he's just like kind of okay at a bunch of different stuff, which is totally fine. I think he might take Hauser's spot depending on matchup. Maybe, but I don't think he's a long-term guy. Like, I think some of these names we'll probably talk about are dudes we could lock up on pretty cheap deals for the next 2-3 years, and I think that's what we really need to be targeting at this deadline, because it's going to be really hard to make trades after the new CBA hits in full this offseason. And Bay's trying to get paid, right? He's been on like a low deal. He probably thinks he's better than he actually is.
He definitely does.
He'll probably get like an MLE or something in the offseason. I doubt we want to spend that much money on what would be like our 8th or 9th man. So I like Bay in the short term. I'm not sure I love him as the target, because like if we could add one of these guys who I think we can get for, like 3 years, 10 million in the offseason, or straight up 2 years at a minimum or something like that, I think that just makes more sense to me.
Yeah, Sadiq Bey, if that's the move they make, I think that technically similar to the Bucks adding Pat Bev, not as good, but like technically the Bucks got better. Technically, if you add Sadiq Bey for Svi, for example, and a second round pick, the Celtics got better. But really, he's just kind of O'Shea's quite different. I think, what I will say about Sadiq, he's definitely a better offensive player than any of like the Sadiq, the O'Shea's, or I guess I want to say Svi, but I don't know. I think overall he's a better player than Svi. Maybe technically Svi's a better offensive player, but better offensive player than O'Shea. Even if the shooting numbers aren't technically better this year, he's still a 35% 3-point shooter over his first 3 or 4 years as a NBA guy. And even this year where he's shooting 31.4%, he's still shooting 5.6 threes per game. So like he's a very willing shooter, and like as we've seen, he can get hot. He can kind of put the ball on the court and do some stuff. I would be surprised though if he's the move that we make, especially considering he makes 6 point whatever. So it's like, 1, he's not going to be a long-term piece. 2, we're not even sure he plays over Hauser. Probably not, maybe, if Hauser's really struggling. So like, it doesn't tick a lot of the boxes outside of the Celtics killer box.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to evaluate any potential move. Like, would this potential acquisition play over player X at that position? And for us, that's commonly going to be either Peyton Pritchard or, in Sadiq Bey's case, Sam Hauser. And in terms of the spacing that Sam Hauser affords us, in terms of like the house trap, and like he's like time and time again demonstrated defensive skills and competence. I don't think that we're going to see a lot of Sadiq Bey over Sam Hauser. Will he be a great regular season tool to spell some of our wings, namely the Jays, and just give them that little bit of extra rest in the lead up to the playoffs? Yes, definitely. Is he going to play that much over Sam Hauser in the playoffs? Possibly not, although we do have the benefit of the remainder of the regular season to try and determine who's going to be the better fit there. But Sammy Buckets has just been so good for our team on both ends that it's difficult to conceive someone like Sadiq Bey playing over him for too long. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We got 85 people here. Let us know like where you're tuning in from. If you're just getting up like we are here in Australia, or if you're in the middle of your workday like Spoonie is there as he sips on a beer.
I took the afternoon off, all right?
Yeah, I'm just fucking with you. It's all good. We're having a good time. And we got just under 40 minutes to go here until the deadline. And we've got our live Twitter feed up on screen, which is a little quiet at the moment. We're expecting an avalanche of news to come at any time. Before we get to the Grant Williams stuff, guys, we filled out this very high-tech Google Doc earlier in the day. And folks in the chat, we'd love to hear did the Celtics just get Bey? I don't know. Are you news breaking here? Footnotes? We've got nothing.
I think maybe we were just talking about it when Footnotes tuned in. No. We were just saying.
Very complimented.
Someone asked if Bey could be a guy that we go after. So we're just talking about the fit and why or why not. Mm-hmm. But yeah, exactly, Ben. I'm very flattered to think that we could be breaking such a thing on the stream. That would be.
Wait, Sadiq just texted me. Hold on.
Hang on. Yeah.
Sources.
Zarin is in the Discord.
Yeah.
Before we get to the Grant Williams stuff, because we got to get there, because obviously it's close to our hearts for better or worse. We've got these categories here. It's our final prediction as far as what final move realistically we predict the Celtics would make. Trade ceiling, what's maybe the high point of what might be reasonably possible or a dream scenario for us. And then most feared trade, which is what rival-based trade do you fear the most that might drive a peg into the hearts of the Celtics championship hopes. Forgive me, still waking up with the analogies here. So final prediction, me, Lonnie Walker, I just think, it's a reasonable pursuit for Brad. There's nothing that I can add to that conversation. It's been tossed around at this point. Jake, you've got Najee Marshall and Spoonie Spo. You've got Shake Milton. So these are reasonable outcomes to you guys.
High praise.
Yeah, I mean, so okay, like Lonnie's my guy. I would have put down Lonnie if you had not already claimed him, Ben. Like
sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
How you stole Lonnie, you stole, and then you stole Denny,
and Denny, my guy Denny. Yeah,
stole LeBron.
just because you make the doc, apparently you get to take all the guys.
Yeah, producer benefits.
But okay, here's what I'm thinking on Shake Milton. We can take him into the TPE. He's got some stuff off the dribble. He can kind of make threes. He's just like kind of more athletic, worse-ish version of Pritchard. Don't love him defensively. Super cheap, but sometimes you just need a little more pop off the dribble out there. And he just got traded, but he can be traded by himself. I think that's a misunderstanding a lot of people have is they think there's a 60-day prohibition on getting traded after you get traded. There's a 60-day prohibition on being combined with other players in a trade. So we can just take Shake back into the TPE, send out one of our low-level contracts. And look, he can score. We've seen games where Shake's gone off for like 20+. Sometimes you just need like a wild card on the bench, and I think Shake be good for that.
Yeah, I'd rank him third on that list, I think.
Agreed.
Right.
It's tough.
But
like a distant third.
Big distant third. I will say Najee Marshall did not play in the Clippers-Pelicans game yesterday. So that's a good sign with him potentially being traded. I would, of this group here, I absolutely would have... it's funny, right? Like you watch the highlights, like it's a lot more difficult to grind full tape of a player quickly. And so like yesterday with Tillman, I'm just filtering all defended shots, and it's like all like the misses as opposed to makes. So I see all the times that Jokic misses and all the times that these guys miss. And with Lonnie Walker, talk about a guy that's going to look good on the highlights, man. Like,
oh yeah.
Like 6'4", 6'5", strong, super athletic, and just like when he rises up for threes, like no one can get in his face. Fast break, he can dunk kind of on anybody. He's hot, very attractive individual. Would challenge Tatum for the tops. Challenge Al Horford for the top spot as the hottest guy on the team. Horford. I forget that Horford's in a tier of his alone on his own. He would challenge Tatum for the second overall spot as the hottest guy on the team. But Mary Poppins, feel free to correct me if you have different thoughts there. But Lonnie, like, Pritchard's probably more solid. I mean, definitely a better shooter. Even though Lonnie's shooting 44% on threes this year, long sample size, like, unless he has taken a monster 3-point jump this season, like specifically, then sure. Then someone should be trading multiple firsts for Lonnie Walker probably if he's now a 40% 3-point shooter on that kind of volume. But Pritchard's the better shooter, but you get Lonnie bigger, stronger. Like the athleticism is kind of unmatched. Like he can really just, especially on this team, he can catch the ball in closeout situations, either rise up and shoot over guys or attack these closeouts. You know when Pritchard attacks kind of the lane and we want him to learn the TJ McConnell fadeaway, or he kind of has to dribble, like do the Nash and dribble around that Spoonie's been talking about. Mm-hmm. Lonnie can legitimately drive a closeout and like launch himself into guys, bounce off and still finish, get and ones, finish, put pressure on the rim, dunk on guys. So he would give a completely different element to this team that they don't have, which is why the Tillman move makes a lot of sense, because it's like they don't have a backup big like Tillman right now. And so Lonnie would give them a guy that they do not have.
Yeah, it's the versatility. Like Tillman, obviously, I've been drinking the Kool-Aid since the trade happened, but just the versatility of that position now, where we have a switchable big. Al Horford has been our most switchable big up until this point, and you know he's aging unquestionably. And as beautiful and handsome and attractive as he still is, his switching ability has diminished over time. He got cooked, as most people would, by Trae Young a number of times last night.
Not every time.
Not every time, that's true. But Tillman can come in, he can play up to the level of the screen, he can switch those screens, he can just give us a new defensive coverage off the bench that we haven't been capable of. So that versatility, I think, feeds into the argument for Lonnie Walker, like you get into there, Jake, where he just gives us a different kind of pop off the bench that obviously Sammy Buckets, as much as we adore him, and his Slamhauser persona, he just can't give us what Lonnie Walker might be able to. So hence he's on this list. We'll come back to this list. I think we can use it as a bit of a crutch between topics. And folks in the chat, like, let us know what your entries are for these categories. We're very curious to know. I feel like sorry, Jake, unless you've got something, we've got to get to this Grant Williams situation because it's absurd.
I was going to say, at some point we should just like chat a little Tillman, because I feel like, we haven't done a pod since Tillman, and so it'd be good to talk a little bit about him and what we've seen so far. But yeah, Grant Williams, salary dump.
Oops. Yeah, so let's find the trade here. Yeah, okay. So Dallas received PJ Washington, you might say a like-for-like player. They get 2 second-round picks, while Charlotte received Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a first-round draft pick. And I don't have the protections here, but I believe it's top 2 protected? Is that right?
Top 2 protected.
And is it next year?
Insane. 2027.
Crazy deal. Luka will he'll go through unrestricted free agency by then.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that's insane.
That is insane. Absolutely insane.
I don't know what the fuck is going on in Dallas, dude. Like they're kind of a disaster. Like outside of drafting Luka, they have not made a good move. I mean, Derek Lively, good draft pick.
Yep.
They disaster signing last season with the big guy. What's it? Cauley Stein? No, not Cauley Stein. JaVale McGee, like as their mid-level exception guy. Obviously, they let go Bronson. They fucked up whatever happened with KP. Like. This mistake after mistake after mistake, and now you sign Grant Williams for whatever. I think they gave up stuff in the sign and trade. I think right to get Grant Williams too. They gave up a 2030 unprotected swap to the Spurs. I don't know how the mechanics of that trade worked. And Reggie Bullock to bring in a guy that was worse than Reggie Bullock, plus the swap, who they have salary dumped. Yes, they've gotten back PJ Washington, which I know Spoonie your guy. Well, I guess we're gonna find out with PJ Washington, because it's all well and good to do some stuff in Charlotte. Now people are actually gonna watch consistently what you're doing in Dallas.
Here's what I'll say. I'm very confident PJ Washington is a much better player than Grant Williams. How much better, I think, is definitely up in the air. Because you're right. Like, when you're getting a bunch of touches as PJ Washington, like, your raw stats are going to look pretty good. But when you're in that role on that team, like, that Mavs team is just, like, where role players go to die. Like, it's just really hard to play basketball where you never touch the ball except for when you're expected to knock down shots. I don't really think PJ's that type of guy, but he's got a lot more, like, short roll, off the bounce game that Grant.
Grant
How
dare
does. Yeah, I know. I almost said Derek Lively, so White is off the table here. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think if they're, like, creative with PJ, he could be a really good piece for them. But, like, everything we've seen out of Dallas, basically since Luka's been there, they've not been creative. It's just give the ball to Luka, watch him get help or get doubled and move it. So I love PJ. Wish we could have found a way to get him. He just makes way too much money for us too. But this is not a great place for him. I'll be honest. I think he's probably going to flame out, but not as spectacularly as Grant did. Like, getting off him without even playing a full season is fucking nuts, man.
Yep.
So is this not the NBA agreeing or concluding? This is a win for the anti-Grant people, right?
We were right, yeah.
Like, sure, maybe he salvages this thing. Brad was right for, like, sure, you want him to be better. Like, he's better than O'Shea. But even then, dude, what you need from that position, look, we're always going to be thankful for him in Game 7 of the Milwaukee series. I'm not sure there wasn't a few guys that could have just hit the wide open threes on 18 attempts in Game 7.
7 for 18.
Like,
yeah. He wasn't lights out.
Yeah, 7 for 18. Yeah, it's not exactly right. Like, Hauser, who knows? We could have won that game by 40 or that series in 5.
No, they would have guarded him.
Starting to feel mean.
Yeah, I know, but because not yet. But like when Grant was traded this offseason, both Marcus and Grant leave. Marcus was a legitimate okay, how is this going to impact the fabric, the soul of the Celtics? That's understandable. He's been so important for so long. The Grant Williams concern trolling by national media, Celtics media, I felt like we were kind of losing our mind a little bit. It was like he was a good defender the 2 years ago, and specifically he was a good defender in the last third of the 2022 season and then the Brooklyn Nets series and then the Bucks series, and how easy is it to be a good defender in the infrastructure of that defense when Rob Williams is playing like Rob Williams, where it's no matter what happens, Rob Williams is here. And Al Horford's 2 years younger. And Marcus Smart is at Defensive Player of the Year level. And Jason Tatum is playing elite wing defense. And Jaylen Brown's trying sometimes.
Really hard.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
So it's that defensive positional role is just so easy relative to and you see it exposed in a place like Dallas where they don't have any defenders.
Yeah. Well, he's been worse in Dallas, right? Unquestionably worse. And yeah, so it comes back down, and maybe you were about to hit on this, Spoonie, but what's in the water in Dallas? Is there maybe some character on the team who is, historically detrimental to success? Do you see what I'm getting at here?
All I know is when these guys play with Jason Tatum, they look really good. Mm-hmm. And when
Facts.
they play with Luka Doncic, they get salary dumped to Washington and Charlotte.
This conversation needs to happen at some point where Luka just runs off these guys who previously looked pretty good to great at their old places.
Brunson.
it sucks to play with him. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I understand he's incredible and is going to be a Hall of Famer and blah, 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 blah. But, like, he doesn't play defense. So you're like, God, this dude's got the ball 90% of the time when we're offense. And then he's getting blown by every single time we're on defense. Like, that really sucks. That's not good for, like, team chemistry. And I know that's kind of like a boomer take, but there is some reality to that as well. So, like, the way James Harden got talked about when he played that way in Houston compared to how Luka gets talked about.
Get that off the
Dallas.
screen, Ben.
I know.
Get off the screen, Ben.
Stick with us here.
You guys better fucking not leave. I swear to God. Dude. Open it in a
We're hating on
us.
Luka. What more could you want?
If you leave, you have to like and leave us open, you sons of guns.
That's right. Yeah. Mute us and then do new tab. But I just, like, Harden got, like, eviscerated for playing the way Luka is playing right now. And people are just, like, praising Luka and saying, he's a borderline MVP, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I don't know. It's
dude.
insane to me that, like, the way
like,
he's praised.
We talk about coaching as, like, and the number one thing, X's and O's is obviously important, but the number one thing is buy-in. Like, if you're not going to get buy-in from your team, then it doesn't matter how good of an X's and O's guy you are. And the same should be said of your superstar. And the thing about Jason Tatum is, I don't care what kind of roster construction you have, he fits as a 1A, top 5, top 10 guy in any construction. It does not matter. You can play him. He can go high usage. The only time he's been high usage, like really high usage, was the year they were the 7 seed when we had fucking Tristan Thompson and Daniel Tice as our starting bigs and Jeff Teague, and everybody had COVID, and he had like the most 50-point games in a span in some kind of weird record. But other than that, he doesn't play that way. He can scale down or up depending on the situation. And this year is like the biggest example of that. It's like he's clearly taken a step back and trying to make it work with everybody else. And it's like, it's sacrificing numbers kind of across the board, and he doesn't really care. He's happy to just the rock and make sure everybody's feeling comfortable. Yeah, the Ninja Turtles. Let's go, dude.
23 minutes to go. I have just done some quick speed editing of our Twitter list here to make sure no other rival networks, even though we're part of CLNS, so we love those guys, show up on screen again and try and entice anyone away. We do have 115 people here. While you're here, like the stream, subscribe to the channel. We're so close to 3,000 subs, and while we're having a lot of fun on our trade deadline stream, it streams almost every day here, live podcasts. We've got a weekly underrated Celtics plays series. It's just a shitload of extra Celtics content in your life. So no harm in subscribing and doing us a solid there. And like I said, please like the stream.
I would say the opposite of harm. I think it's going to do whatever the opposite of harm is. That's what's going to happen when you like and subscribe to this to everything. So
it will enhance your life.
Just do that. Yeah.
And ours. The little dopamine hit every time I refresh and there's additional subscribers. Give me more of that in my life, please.
Yeah. I'm addicted. So we're in the fucking trap now. Let's go.
We're in the slot. It's great. I had to refresh Twitter on my phone to make sure that it's not broken. I'm just so surprised. Since we've gone live, no ShamWows, no Woj bombs.
Yeah, dude.
No nothing. It's like this is the lead up to the deadline. There's 22 minutes to go. Surely fireworks, right? At some point in the next 22 minutes, including but not limited to some very extremely Brad Stevens related fireworks.
Well, I fucking hope we get one Celtics trade. But, like, the fireworks, as far as the broader deadline go, have kind of happened already. Like, you get the James Harden trade. Sorry for burping into the microphone if everybody heard that.
Siakam.
James Harden, Siakam, the Bruce Brown stuff, OG Anunoby. Like, those 3 deals are all very, like, involved multiple star players and, like, legitimately impacted the title race. And so, like, if those were all happening today and now, we'd all be freaking out. It's just that they've happened previously, so that this deadline is now feeling slow. And then also relative to last year's deadline when fucking Kevin Durant got traded, like which last year's was like an historic trade deadline. And right now we're like 21 minutes away and we're like, please, Lonnie Walker, DeJounte Murray, he's probably not going to get traded after all of this, which is hilarious. The Lakers have Chris Haynes has come out and said the Lakers don't look like that they're going to do anything.
They're loading up for this offseason, man, when LeBron's going to be 40. Loading up.
Trade LeBron. Drop the LeBron trade news, just not to the Knicks, please.
LeBron for Drew Holiday. Let's do it.
Yeah. Karis LeVert makes a lot. There's just no way we can get him unless we trade Al, and that ain't worth it.
He's also, I don't like him, but it's okay.
Yeah. And he's injury prone, and he's like sneaky. Was a really old rookie. I think he came into the league at 24, so he's already up basically
almost 30.
Yeah. I'm gonna take one bathroom break before the deadline.
Go for it.
This fireball's gone straight through me, so I just gotta. I'll be back shortly.
No worries, dude. I think Spoonie, while Jake's gone, we should talk about this Knicks trade, which is maybe like the most impactful to the Celtics trade that's happened overnight. So the Knicks receiving Jason Tatum's close personal friend, Alec Burks, plus Bojan Bogdanovic, who is one of my like favorite role players, if you could even call him that, in the entire league. Detroit get Grimes, they get Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, notable contributor to NBA basketball in the last 2 years. Ryan Diacono, did I get that?
Nailed it.
Yeah, thank you. It's one of those ones that you can say in your head and then you try and like export that out of your mouth and it never works. And a couple of seconds there. So how much more dangerous does this make the Knicks to you, Spoonie?
Yeah, so I just every time I watch Grimes, I'm like, this dude is good. He should play more. But apparently just he fell into Tibbs' doghouse, and it's absolutely impossible. Tibbs' doghouse is not just a doghouse. It has like chain link fence that are electrified around it. Like there's no seeing
security guards
out of that. Yeah. Him and Fournier just like never getting out. Yeah, like M16s just pointed at you. Don't
spotlights.
Move. Yeah, right, exactly. So like they were just never gonna get out. So I think I like Detroit getting Grimes. Like Flynn, I've never been a big Flynn guy. Toronto is the most stubborn team with their young guys. So the fact that they gave up on him, clearly not a great sign. But Bojan he's a baller, dude. Like that dude is a hooper, but he's old. And, it's tough to trust some of these older guys, especially the older Europeans who maybe are smoking a little bit, drinking a little bit,
at halftime.
Yeah, exactly. And Burks had a really good year for Detroit last year, but he's been considerably worse this year. I wonder if it's just context being on that shitty Detroit team. Mm-hmm. So I like this trade a lot for both teams, actually. But ultimately, are we going to sit here and be like, wow, we would have beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals if they just didn't get Bojan Bogdanovic? I don't know, man. And he's really good at, he's a really great offensive player. But, I think, Jake, one of your big things is teams that give us trouble in the playoffs can knock us off our offensive game.
My tenant.
And Bojan lowers their wing defense compared to Grimes big time. He's more dangerous, but I just ultimately is it a needle mover? Somewhat, but I think we're considerably better than the Knicks, frankly. So I don't think it gets them to where they're on our level. Maybe they jump up a little bit closer to Milwaukee, but also Milwaukee, how high, how close are they to the Celtics really at this point? I mean, I don't really know. So good trade for both teams, but I don't think it's terrifying.
It's it's not a comparison I would officially make. But when the Warriors got Kevin Durant or the Warriors were the Warriors, it's what was the point? What's the point of making moves unless you're able to beat that team? And the Rockets kind of went at it how can we design ourselves in specifically to take down the Warriors? And if you are another team in the East right now, I think this definitely makes the Knicks better. But if this doesn't help the matchup against the Celtics, then maybe you should look to make a different move. And now Bojan is someone they could look to package down the line. I'm pretty sure he's got more years on his contract, and so what's good about this deal for the Knicks, for them in specifically as opposed to through a Celtics lens, is he makes $19 million and he's expiring next year, so that's a really nice trade chip. So it's you bring him in for basically nothing, and then next year they keep all their assets, real assets, for a real star player, because coming into this season there was a lot of we're monitoring the Embiid situation bullshit. And so they keep their powder dry. They bring in another contract that's bigger and maybe more valuable than someone like Evan Fournier. And so, I think this helps them, in a vacuum. They're better at basketball now, but long term they can also flip it. But in the context of the Celtics matchup, I don't think they got better in that matchup at all. And maybe even... Oh, the Spurs are trading Doug McDermott to the Pacers. Is that
Ooh,
he's
spicy.
Going
Back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
Well, they just
reporting that?
replaced
Buddy Hield.
Woj.
So they just got white Buddy
There we go.
Hield.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Wow, that's actually awesome because,
Yeah.
well, we haven't talked about the heel to the Sixers either, but but yeah, for the Knicks, as far as contenders in the East go, they've improved the most in a vacuum this deadline. But yeah, Grimes more helpful in that matchup than either of those guys against the Celtics, I feel.
Yeah, no, I would agree. But just a note on Bojan very quickly. He is a pretty decent ball handler for his position and his age. Like we just checked, and he's almost 35 now. So that does give the Knicks an extra dimension, an experienced playmaker, ball handler, and as far as playing with Brunson, a solid kick-out option as well. Like he's pretty money from three. So Knicks, offensively speaking, they get an extra wrinkle there that makes life more difficult for the Celtics defense or any defense. But add Bojan to the long list of players who are very likely to get extremely cooked by either J. And so really, it's not going to hold up in a playoff series if we do get there. Not to mention the insane minutes load that Tibbs is going to put on those guys by the time they meet us. You
know what's funny is I would almost trust Bojan more than Randall as a playoff player.
Yeah, dude.
Same.
But again, in the Celtics matchup, you can't fucking have Bojan on the court for 30 minutes because with Brunson as well. And so, what's their lineup now? It's Hartenstein / Robinson, Brunson, OG. Those are the 100% three. Mm-hmm. I mean, technically, obviously, Randall.
Yeah.
And then it's Bojan. Is it Josh Hart? As they can put together a nice five,
Alec Burks.
Oh,
Burks. Keep
sorry.
it. Hey, no, that's wow. That's the biggest name. Name.
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry to cut you off.
But... No. Of course, this is the trade deadline, but they kept him off. Oh man, if he would have played yesterday, the Celtics would have won by 30. Jesus.
So is this to say the Lakers just couldn't get the deal done?
They don't. I just think they're loath to give up another first round pick.
Yeah.
And what is Atlanta like? If Atlanta's not going to move Trey, no. DeJounte's played really well this year. Frankly, he's hitting threes and stuff. So I just have no idea what Atlanta wants or is going to do, and I'm not surprised the Lakers have anything that they'd want either. Because it's what are they going to do with Rui and some trash?
Huh?
So.
Marcus Morris went from...
So he's gone from
Gotcha.
Indy. Yeah, so he's bounced around a little bit. Finally,
Man,
a Spur, Marcus Morris, the
bad
most hilarious Spur of all time.
Yeah.
It's too bad he makes more than the mid-level. I wouldn't mind him as a buyout guy, but he makes more than the mid-level exception, so does not matter. Otto Porter went somewhere. Speaking of buyout guys, where did he go?
Let's find out.
Otto Porter Jr.
Utah.
He could be bought out, no? He's just injured. So, but that's definitely a buyout candidate and someone that I've talked myself into as he's probably washed and he's injured, but also he's 30 years old and was a key contributor on a title team 18 months ago.
Yeah.
So, the upside of bringing him in is legit. Would easily be better than Hauser if he gets healthy. Easily. Would be the seventh guy in the rotation.
There's no downside, right? It's not going to hurt.
I called it, but he makes 16, I think.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the problem. He makes too much for us to sign him in a buyout. Because there's dumb fucking CBA, dude, that is specifically designed to fuck the Celtics out from winning a title.
Celtics bias.
Adam Silver, what are you doing, dude? We're literally trying to save the NBA. Okay.
Should we get to our like ceiling and feared trades since we got 10 minutes left?
Yeah. And I'm going to keep manually refreshing Twitter because I think the API is under significant load at the moment, and this isn't auto refreshing. So we'll stay on that, and we'll get to like what are Toronto doing and what are the Reddit mods doing with their spelling. There's so much to get to, but so the trade ceiling. Danny Avager, which I know is the mispronunciation, but that's what I'm going with at this time of the morning, 6:50 a.m. Sydney time, and Chris Dunn. Thank you. Trade ceiling, because there's a lot of maneuvering that needs to happen financially to make this work, because Denny sits unfortunately just outside of the TPE, but fit wise and just how little he actually makes, individual or independent of. We got something?
The Milwaukee Bucks are trading Robin Lopez to the Sacramento Kings. Lopez is expected to be waived and become a free agent. That could indicate a move to come in a second.
Yeah,
but they're
opening up a roster spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many rosters. Oh my god. You know what? They're literally opening up a roster spot because they refuse to get rid of Thanasis.
Yeah. Well, from a PR perspective, that makes sense. Use Google Translator. Thanks, Doc Rivens. Okay, let's keep an eye on that. Let's keep refreshing Twitter. That's interesting. I feel like something inevitably is going to happen there for the Bucks. Sending cash in the deal. Yep. Okay.
He was bad in the couple of games that I watched in the last few days.
Yes.
Let me tell you that.
He's cooked.
Chris Dunn, also part of my trade ceiling. I just think if we can make an addition there, especially without having to give up Peyton Pritchard. Dunn, obviously better defensively than PP. Maybe not on the screen navigation front, but just holistically as a player, a better defensive guard who has had a great season. Yeah. So
he's shooting 40% from three, dude.
Yeah, I know.
Which is fucked. On lower volume, but still.
And someone, this predates the podcast, but someone who I definitely favored over Jaylen Brown in that draft several years ago, which I will admit, although I'm sorry to say.
I wanted us to draft Buddy Hield, so that's better. I mean, technically Buddy Hield was better, but I think you could argue Chris Dunn was a better choice there.
Hield would have been pretty money with Tatum, though, to be fair.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, honestly, yeah.
Go ahead.
You're right. Good job, Jake.
I'm with you on Denny. I absolutely love Denny.
Dude.
I've had many tweets about how I think he can be the Neo AK-47. Danger Cart has come at me pretty hard against that, and I was like, man, I'm just having fun out here on Twitter. Like, calm down. Man. But
what happened?
I tweeted I was drunk on like Christmas, and I was like, please a contender trade for Denny Avdia so he can become the Neo AK-47, and he like sent me like his Darko like graphs and was like,
he loves Darko, dude.
Yeah. And he's like, we are not having this conversation. And I was like, well, we're kind of already started, but
where's your Christmas spirit?
It was all good. It was all good, but
he's hilarious, but like he's obsessed with the Darko lines, and like when the Pistons and Jazz made the Fontecchio trade, it's like, what's the point of doing this when it's like the same player? It's like, are you? I know you're not watching the games, then, like, because Fontecchio's been actually good at basketball, while Kevin Knox is maybe being one of the worst players in the NBA. It's like, but like at this exact moment, they're at the same place in Darko. It's like, what is this random graph line? It's so insane to me that how much value some people put on some of that shit. But Danny, dude, it's not too late. We got 7 minutes.
It's almost too late.
7 minutes.
Give us the Lowry take.
Yeah.
Lowry. I mean, this is look.
The people need to know.
Have you seen? The meme where it's like my brain's starting to finally awaken? Yeah. That's the level 1 of like we should trade for Chris Dunn. Level 2 is Fontecchio. Level 3, my brain's really opening. That's Kelly Olynyk. And me finally reaching enlightenment is actually no. We've been targeting the wrong Jazz player. It's Lauri Markkanen, and the trade is Drew Holiday for Lowry and Kelly Olynyk, who's already been traded. So that doesn't work anymore. But Lowry only makes $17 million somehow. But you just send every draft pick that you have available for Lowry, and it's Drew for Lowry plus whatever salary filler that Utah has, and it's Lowry for Drew plus all of your picks, and you become like one of the best teams of all time. Like easily.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's so wild. I mean, I love it. That's so juicy. But I feel dirty.
Hey, that's what you get in the Discord if you haven't joined yet. Like I posted that like I don't know, late night one night, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. He makes $36 million. We're talking about Utah. Can we get Lowry? Definitely not. None of this will happen. But the idea of Kristaps, and like Lowry's just like Finnish Kristaps. He's like 1 inch shorter and the same. And like slightly more versatile on switching and stuff. But it's like, if you were able to get Kristaps and Lowry, and your lineup is Kristaps, Lowry, Jalen, Jason, and Derek, you literally will score 200 points a game. But
and Lowry's like kind of sneaky okay defensively.
He's good.
Like, he's not great on that end, but he's fine. And with KP, the way we're playing defense and just funneling people to KP, he's built for that too. So yeah, obviously, if we could get marketed in, that would be fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen. Dinwiddie on a buyout.
Future Laker.
I don't think he fits. He makes like 18 million, I think.
Much,
And if anyone, just for anybody in the chat that doesn't know, we can sign buyout guys, but because of the dumb new CBA that was designed to destroy the Celtics as they enter all-in mode as they're going to win the title, the new rule is that teams that are over the second apron can only sign buyout guys if the contract that they were previously on is under the mid-level exception, which is 12.4 million. Yeah, there we go, 18.8. So it doesn't work for us. Didn't really, to Philly would be a bit annoying. They've already basically confirmed they're going to sign Kyle Lowry in the buyout market, which is annoying. I think maybe technically, oh my God, the Celtics are trading Jaden Springer to the Celtics for a second round pick.
We traded the Sixers? What?
Holy shit.
He picked Tatum's pocket one time.
This
and
is
Brad said,
hilarious,
"Get this
dude.
man on my team."
Celtics killer.
He's
Brad's
not
like,
good,
oh my
dude.
God, get him. Yeah, he's an interesting young player, man. Like I said, 23, 22.
This would be so funny if he turns into a good player. Just
Yeah,
purely
dude.
because
He's bound to now.
Well, yeah, now that he's out of like the terrible infrastructure of the Philadelphia 76ers, he comes to
What
a,
the fuck are
a
the
nurturing.
Sixers doing?
Okay, so a lot of the moves today, to me, indicate
Hield?
that
I guess
they
they're gonna
know,
re-sign him.
because they gave up nothing for Hield, essentially. 3 seconds.
Sure.
They've indicated that they might know that Joel Embiid's knee is fucked for this year. And, like, it's not worth making, like, moving real assets for moves right now unless it's going to be a true long-term fit or impact. And so it doesn't make sense for them to really go all in for this one. But so, yeah, let's look up Jaden Springer, like, salary and stuff, because that's a grand TPE move.
2.2.
Yeah. 2.2 this year, 4 mil next year, and then he's a restricted free agent. So pretty decent contract. And this is kind of what you want to see from Brad, right? Like securing good, cheap players before he's completely hamstrung by the CBA constraints that come in for us this offseason. So the fact that we're potentially poaching some serious talent, I use that term generously, from Philly, like to me, that's the spiciest element of this. If he, like you guys said, if he turns out to be even halfway decent on this contract, huge for our Philly spite, if nothing else.
And it makes sense, right? Because Brad is trading often for dudes that we have bird rights on. And that's basically the only way you can increase your salary with this new CBA is like signing dudes to bigger deals when you have their bird rights. So you've had them for three or more years. They've been on this contract for 3 or more years. So that's not what I expected. Like, it's classic Brad. Like, that name.
That is so
out
off.
there, dude. Yeah, like nobody was like, maybe Jaden Springer. You know what I mean? Like,
He's not on our list here.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Like, Philly would trade with us, frankly.
That is so
Thank you. Oh, who's this
bizarre.
genius Spo?
Clairvoyant spoons.
So I just opened the ball stream to try and get like the quick Philly reaction in my ears while I could to see how they feel about Jaden Springer. And Trill, who we had on the podcast, was like, hey, he's a really good defensive player. Offense has just not gone anywhere right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, but very odd. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't really get it. Like, from what I've seen from Springer, it's like, I don't know. Like, Walsh, we've seen very little. Even Springer's played a lot more NBA minutes, but Walsh to me has more of the Toronto Raptors are keeping Bruce Brown. Man, this deadline is just
That's good.
It is good. As far as
good.
everything's like we want nothing to happen. If like something would be fun if it's good for us, but if nothing happens, that's good for the Celtics. Like Walsh at least has shown offensive flashes and upside, whereas Springer hasn't really. So it's like I don't know why or if I see this, but the deadline has now passed.
Yeah,
Deals only need to be in the trade. Yeah, I say like it's usually like 10 to 15 minutes. But
Well, we're also out of
Delano
roster
Banton.
spots.
Oh,
for the yes,
for a second, baby, heavily protected
Oh,
fuck
second.
Delonte
We
Banton.
did it. We did
I'm
it.
sorry, Delonte.
Sorry,
This is Delonte. Delonte's gone.
Delonte.
You're gonna
Delano.
Delonto Raptors.
We've already forgotten his name.
This is so good for Jordan Walsh. Someone's gonna finally fucking stop ignoring him. Let's
Well,
go.
dog is
dude.
barking.
Still here. Yeah.
Okay, a heavily protected second round pick. Brad just can't get enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so-
I'm to Zach's right. Like, what? The Bulls just did nothing. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Insane, dude.
What?
Insane.
And
So-
what are Toronto doing? It's probably a topic for the podcast. The like, what are they doing list? And there's probably at least 5 teams on that list.
I think, Brad was like, we have got too many second round picks for the upcoming draft, right? We've got that one.
We had 3 for this year.
Yeah. So they gave them the best, I think, of our, because it's either Chicago or New Orleans, which is like a mid-second. Or because Chicago's going to be whatever. Yeah, the Sixers really waved the white flag here because they have this cap space plan with no good free agents coming up, essentially. So the Bulls can... The Bulls have ruined the trade deadline as far as lots of trades and fun trades goes because Caruso, DeRozan, Drummond were all pieces that could have helped a lot of teams. Specifically, Caruso would have helped a bunch of teams. Mm-hmm. Wow, so no Delano and Lamar. Jordan Walsh? Is that your music?
Potentially. Well,
Do I
I mean,
hear it?
the most notable thing with Delano Banton is like we now have another roster spot. So we're back in the buyout market after the dust settles there, which is good. Celtics sending 2024 second round pick via the Bulls. Okay, interesting. So Springer's going to take Delano's rotation spot, which is basically non-existent. So we may not see him at all. I don't think it affects. There's Jake Eisenberg on the timeline.
Why were we fucking playing Delano Banton so much?
Well, we weren't so much in recent weeks. I think he had a nice trial and it didn't work out because he was no good.
The 8 minutes we played him in garbage time is too much. Why are we playing him so much? That's too much. So I don't understand, but it doesn't matter. He's gone, I guess. So
Springer's got upside,
Hey.
man. Like if
Definitely.
he learns to shoot threes and like his shot is not broken. It's really not broken.
Okay.
It doesn't go in, which is a problem, but it doesn't look too bad. I love taking flyers on some of these like younger guys who maybe can pop and you can lock them up to like these cheap long-term deals. We need that. I think that's why Brad's so bizarrely obsessed with second round picks. Because it's like you just like take a bunch of flyers. One of these dudes gonna hit. We already did it with Hauser.
Who knows?
So,
We don't really
I
know
don't know.
yet, right?
Yeah.
Like Brad could be good at this. We don't really know if Brad is good or not good at drafting yet, right? Because the only guy that he's drafted so far has been
The
Jordan
GOAT.
Walsh.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the greatest players of all time. So, so we don't know yet. Ryan Bernardoni saying that the 2024 Chicago pick is more valuable than Jaden Springer, but especially if things happen when the Celtics are able, one is able to. She's contract would become potentially helpful in trade. Yeah, that's what I thought, right? So he makes $4 million, and we're talking about this deadline, right? We had to stack contract to get to like $9 million, whereas now we have Pritchard who makes $6 million. We can't aggregate if we end up in the second apron. If we get below the second apron, all of a sudden we can aggregate Pritchard plus Springer plus a minimum 3 for 1. All of a sudden you're at like 12 plus million. And so, will the Celtics try for Hero? There might not be a move less likely to happen in the NBA. So, than the Celtics trading for Tyler Hero for as many reasons contract, bad fit. We signed a lot of beef. A lot of beef.
Yeah, we did. We got really thick in this trade deadline. And real quick, I'll say about Springer, like if he's more Neesmith than Langford from IMD Zach, Springer plays hard as fuck. Like he plays really hard. You don't have to worry about that with him.
Yeah, that was notable in some of our recent matchups with the Sixers. So that the name, kind of jumped off the page there as that report went out. So I guess to begin to summarize for the Celtics, Tillman, Springer in, Delano, Banton out, along with Lamar Stevens. Did we get better as a result of the trade deadline? I think it's probably safe to say defensively, in terms of our defensive versatility, yes, we did.
We definitely got better because Delano Banton's not on the team anymore.
You could have just cut him. Yeah. Tillman's legit, dude.
Yeah,
Tillman is a legit rotation big.
Let's talk Tillman.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, like, if you look at Xavier Tillman's on-off differential against the Lakers last year in the playoffs, it was plus 19. So the Memphis Grizzlies outscored the Lakers in the playoffs last year when Tillman was on the court. He's just like a legitimately good rebounding defensive big. And yeah, we touched on it a little bit earlier. Like, he's also the type of big we don't really have on the team. Like he's just a motherfucker, man. Like, dude, he's a bastard to play against. He will fuck you up. He will hard foul. And it's like exactly what you want as a third center.
Joel Embiid is the only player on the 76ers roster with a guaranteed contract in 2024, 2025.
Oh, because Maxi's Maxi's got a team option.
But this is fucked though. So just quickly on that, like, so for them to get this max cap space plan, and Trill was talking about this, they have to renounce everybody on the roster. That's Melton, who, like, anybody that's helpful right now. That's the whole team, dude. So it's like,
other than Maxi,
I don't care who you sign in free agency. That doesn't, like, you're not going to be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is
Melton's really good too. Like,
why?
But here's the thing. Like, that's to create max cap space. I think they can keep Melton, they can sign him, and then they'll still have like 20 million. But what are you getting for 20 million in this market anymore, man? Like, Doug McDermott, you know what I mean? Like,
Grant Williams?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he went for 10, 11. Like, you're not getting shit for that amount of
Derek
cap
White,
space.
if you offer every draft pick you've ever had, you can have Derek White for $18 million. That's an insane contract. $18 million for Derek White.
And, like,
just by the way,
yeah, I know. What a trade by Brad. Like, a pick and a stupid ass swap in a few years. Yeah. Like, what a trade. Mm-hmm. Like, who of these guys is like moving the needle?
Look at the free agents, dude. Klay Thompson, Siakam's gone.
Klay for 20.
Tobias, they have. James Harden's re-signing with the Clippers. Siakam's going to re-sign. Hayward. We can talk about Hayward. We'll go back to Tillman, but then we can talk the Hayward trade to OKC. Like, this is DeRozan is still good at basketball, technically. But, like, look at this fucking list, dude. It's a disaster.
Yeah. Aussie Phil, yes. Hayward went to Oklahoma City. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what their plan is. I don't get it. I mean, they're going to re-sign Buddy Hield because why else would they trade for him? Mm-hmm. So your cap space is basically gone. So now what? You bring in Tobias back at 4 for 80.
I think they are. It's going to be Embiid, Maxey, Tobias, Hield, Melton, Batum, Campaign. I guess we hold on to Derek. We got him, Derek.
We still have Derek.
They tried to offer us Giannis for Derek. We said no.
And KD.
And KD, we were like, 3-team trade. Celtics acquiring KD and Derek. We were like, it's not
untouchable.
It's not the time. Yeah. So Jared Wise talking about Banton, Springer. I will say Springer's better than Banton because Banton had 0 NBA skills, whereas Springer legitimately is an NBA level defender.
Definitely.
So that's one thing. Back to Tillman.
We tried with Banton. But yeah, back to Tillman.
So I put a video in the Discord from Ben Pfeiffer. You guys probably haven't had time to watch it specifically because I posted it at 10 p.m. last night and it's now 7 a.m. But he's a really good kind of draft guy and he posted it like 4 months ago. And the title of the video is Xavier Tillman is a Genius. And like, yesterday, I mostly focused on Tillman's offense because a lot of like kind of the raw true shooting numbers and stuff weren't that good, etc. But a lot of this video was focused on his offense. And similar to Luke, he's a very high IQ, skilled offensive player in that spacing-wise, you don't think about non-shooters as good at spacing, but can you find the gaps on a screen and roll? Can you cut to like little open spots in the dunkers area? Yes, he's really good at finding little open areas for really clean dump-off passes. He's really good, and the biggest issue with Cater is like when you find him on the roll, he's just 2 beats too late. And Cornette's really good at making quick decisions. Tillman, really good decision maker, great passer. He's shooting 75% at the rim this year, which is elite for anybody. 51% from 3 to 10 feet, which means he has like a acceptable floater. And so that's all you need, dude. And if you're going to add that to like legitimate, like I don't know if I want to use the word elite defense, but like high quality defense, someone that can switch. You can play him in drop. You can use him as a weak side help defender. Like, you kind of name the role that you need from him. And, dude, you watch his fucking defensive highlights. I swear he looks like Al Horford, the way that he moves and the way that he, like, gets blocks. So, Tillman, and then you obviously add in the fact that you got his bird rights. Like, this has a chance to be, I think, a legitimate, and the most important factor, every single Memphis tweet I could find, Chris Vernon, Molly Morrison, all the comments underneath all of those posts, everyone incredibly positive about, man, love Tillman, sad to see him go, hope he can come back, etc., etc. It wasn't quite the outpouring that Derek White got. Granted, Derek White was obviously playing 30-plus minutes. Tillman was kind of a bench big. Everybody loved him, which might be the best possible sign.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you want to read more about Tillman just being a smart offensive player, maybe read 3-Leaf Clover on Celtics blog tomorrow because X going to give it to you. And by you, I mean Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on 3-Leaf Clover tomorrow, hopefully, if I can finish it after we get off this stream. But yeah, he has that Cornet ability where, like, there's just bigs who are just comfortable with the ball in their hands. Like, they could take a dribble, make a pass, get in the handoff game, understand positioning, and Tillman's one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like we already said earlier in the stream, it's the defensive versatility that is the biggest selling point to me. The fact that if we are unfortunate enough to have some sort of injury heading into the playoffs, that we don't necessarily have to worry so much about Luke Cornette getting cooked in drop coverage because we have this switchable, versatile, athletic big who can come in and play a higher level defense, a high level playoff defense in terms of switching and preventing the buckets that we just see get scored on guys playing in drop like Luke Cornette time and time again. So huge. And then the salary aspect as well, the fact that we have got this guy locked down on a cheap deal for at least another year as we head into those additional CBA constraints. It's huge. Brad Stevens, he wins again. I love this man. He continues to bring light into my life. He's amazing.
I saw someone tweet this. I wish I remember who it was. It's like Brad Stevens just goes on to dunksandthrees.com and sorts by EPM and
might have been Trey.
Yeah, and looks at the bad teams. It's like let's see if anybody on the Spurs is really good in DPM. And Derek White, he like 98th percentile in everything. What can I do for you? Tillman, 99th percentile, defensive EPM. Yeah, can I interest you in a Lamar Stevens and 2027 second round pick? Sure. Oh, you've just received votes for the all defense second team the year after you got traded. Welcome to the Boston Celtics. So second round pick is top 55 protected. Yeah, whatever, dude. Like, who cares? I'm just gonna recap those picks. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I just think what we need to celebrate at this point is, in addition to getting slightly better around the margins and not really impacting our core at all, so you have to imagine team chemistry to some degree, not to discredit Lamar's presence in the locker room or Delano's presence in the locker room. Our core has stayed intact. Also, just as importantly, if not more so, is that none of our rivals got significantly better. You could argue that the addition of Buddy Hield, is in the short term great for a potentially healthy Joel Embiid if that does eventuate. But I'm not looking around at any of our close rivals thinking, shit, like now we're in big trouble. Maybe the Knicks probably come out on top of that list potentially, but they can't add anyone to the can defend the Jays list on their roster there. So long term, not worried about what's going on there. Although they did make some to be celebrated moves. I'm not any more worried about our championship prospects than I was prior to today.
Like, the Celtics did not need to make a trade. Like, we were talking about Lonnie Walker, we're talking about Chris Dunn, we're talking about Najee Marshall. We're talking about people that are not going to crack the playoff rotation most likely. The Bucks needed to make a fucking move, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
what
PJ
happened
Tucker. Yeah, sorry, PJ Tucker will not request a buyout because he's owed $20 million still, and no one wants to pay him that money. The Bucks, like, they've been screaming like we need to do something, and it's like this is honestly the fact that the Bucks didn't make a fucking deal might be the biggest win for the Celtics. Doc Rivers loves Bobby Portis, which might be like the biggest win of anything that's happened in the past 3 weeks. Like, he's just bad now. He played well for like 3.5 weeks in that playoff run, but like he is consistently tanking the Bucks' chances to win games, and Doc loves him, which is great news, dude. I'm gonna pour another shot out for that one, dude. Let's go.
Yeah, the whole podcast that we do, subsequently after the trade deadline is just going to be an hour of the Schadenfreude report, as one commenter is pointing out here, because there's much to be celebrated as far as what our rivals did and didn't do. They did move Robin Lopez, so they have opened up a roster spot there for the buyout market. Someone suggested Daniel House, who has already been bought out, might be a potential grab for them.
Nice.
Yeah,
Otto Porter Jr., dude.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling it.
That's what I was going to ask you guys. Is it just a referendum on how much Stevens believes in Sam Hauser? We didn't get a wing. Maybe just the deal wasn't out there. Are you guys like concerned that we didn't get a wing?
Go ahead, Ben.
Well, potentially, yeah. I think that you do need insurance at some positions, and we've seen the Tillman acquisition be referred to as big man insurance, and I think you probably want wing insurance as well. And the fact that we don't necessarily have that is a little bit concerning. And correct me if I'm wrong, but we no longer have an open roster spot, or we do because Delano was...
We do.
Yeah.
Okay, so buyout wise, the wing insurance is still a possibility. But there were some notable names out there, and who knows, maybe they just weren't available. But the fact that we didn't go out and make a move for one of those guys is a little bit concerning. But ultimately, if you think about what our rotation is going to be, if everyone's healthy in the playoffs, like, it's not necessarily a needle mover. What do you think, Jake?
Yeah, I was going to address Thomas's comment here because I know people are kind of jumping in and out of the stream. The Knicks are probably the team of the deadline that did the most, and they got better. But what we said earlier in the stream was that, like, they got better in a vacuum, but I don't think they got better in the Celtics matchup. So for our purposes, it doesn't really matter. What's interesting for this deadline in particular is that, like, talk about Najee Marshall, you talk about Lonnie Walker, Caruso, all the Bulls guys. The Chicago Bulls not making moves. You kind of feel like sometimes you need one team to do a full fire sale, whether it was them or the Hawks. And if they aren't willing to, like, really lean into a full blow up, then the dominoes don't start to fall. And that's kind of what feels like happened on this stream. So on this deadline, we're on a stream. But so that's what feels like happened. Like, why? Like, did Brad just not like Lonnie Walker? Did Brad just not like Najee Marshall? Or were the Nets like, well, we'd rather just, like, not be fucking so bad and keep some of our players? And so, like, or the Pelicans being like, yeah, I know Najee Marshall doesn't play that much, but we may as well keep him. Mm-hmm. And so that's maybe, it is weird to me that a lot of these moves don't happen. Like, were there not 5 teams, like, off trying to get in on Lonnie Walker or Najee Marshall? I feel like there would have been. Were the prices just too high? I don't know. But the moves didn't seem to happen, and yay Celtics.
Yeah, I wonder if we just had the Springer deal loaded up and we're waiting to see what Lonnie was going to be, like what the price was going to be. And I just don't understand what Brooklyn's thinking, not getting at. Like, you sign this dude on a minimum. might as well get a couple seconds for him, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like great business for
Right.
a team that should be rebuilding, but maybe they wanted a first, and everybody's like, F that, and Brooklyn tried to call everybody's bluff, and it didn't work.
So
And now you get
here's
nothing.
The thing. Like, we're lucky as Celtics fans to be fans of the Boston Celtics from a ownership and management perspective. Like, Wick copped a bunch of shit about not being a guy that's willing to pay. He's absolutely beaten all the allegations about being a broke boy. Like, no question. And about making this team win. The problem is, someone like the Nets, Joe Tsai, he's more concerned, and the Reinsdorf?
Reinsdorf, yeah.
Reisendorf?
Reisendorf. That sounds like a Game of Thrones family.
Yeah.
Sounds like an empire.
The Reisendorfs own the fucking Bulls, and they don't care about being a championship contender. They care about being mediocre and being just good enough so they can continue to sell 95% of their tickets. And so if they blow it up, then they're going to have to go through this 2-year period of like not having tickets, similar to the Nets. And that completely fucks the franchise up and like throws all logic out the window when you're like, well, they suck. They should start to move towards rebuilding. Like the Nets, like what are you just hanging on to some of these guys and then hoping a star appears in the offseason? Maybe. The Bulls, I mean, just a disaster.
Just why?
Disaster, man.
Incredible tweet here from Robin Lopez. I enjoyed being teammates with Pat Beverly for all of an hour and 45 minutes. I'll never forget those times. # indelible. What a legend.
I can't believe the Bucks did nothing besides add Pat Bev.
Yeah. Well, they've got
That's
a roster spot
crazy.
open. Yeah.
Yeah, but
They'll be active
Like-
in the buyout market.
like I was really one of your questions for most feared trade. Mine was Andrew Wiggins to the Bucks, and the Warriors doing nothing. Another team that like should be really pivoting or going all in. They should not be trying to be stuck in the middle. Either go in on Steph Curry, who's like still a top 5 player, or sell and like try and revamp yourself for the twilight of his career. Instead, they're going to be just like a fringe play-in team and probably not make the playoffs is insane to me. And so Wiggins to the Bucks concerned me. Like it probably does not work, but like the chance of him turning into 2022, similar to exactly how I feel about Otto Porter Jr., but higher risk. It's like 18 months ago, 2 years ago, this dude literally was an impact guy, and like maybe Wiggins was basically the reason that the Warriors won the title. Like if he is this version of Wiggins, they don't even make the finals, let alone fucking win it. And so I was like, do they trade for Wiggins and like risk signing that contract and fucking themselves over long term, but like actually sign a guy that if he comes good could actually swing the title race? Because like some of those moves, like Finney Smith or whatever, that would have helped a lot more than Pat Bev, but wasn't really like changing their fate probably. But Andrew Wiggins, upside wise, I think could have, even if it probably doesn't.
Yeah, and real quick on this, Mark Stein announcing Spencer Dinwiddie's getting waived. It's a first apron restriction to not be able to sign buyout guys over the the mid-level exception. So like that's basically every good team. So, we don't have to worry about Dinwiddie going to like the Bucks or something like that. But I mean, I don't really concern myself with Spencer Dinwiddie, but
Nope.
Just like he's going to have to go to a team like OKC or something like that out in the West, some of these younger teams with lower salary. Yeah, I think that's your logic with Wiggins is why I had Bruce Brown to the Bucks as my most feared acquisition. Like they could have packaged Bobby Portis and at Connaughton for Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is a really, really good player, man. He's a great defensive guard, much bigger than Pat Bev. He makes open threes. He can handle the ball a little bit. Like we just didn't want the Bucks to get somebody who can defend and play offense. and they really didn't, which was ideal.
So good.
Yeah.
I think that's the number one at the list of like things to celebrate after this deadline is that, none of our closest rivals got really any much better at all. The Heat did nothing, seemingly.
Nothing.
We're very
Terry
concerned
Rozier.
and very confused about what's going on in Philly. Pat Bev doesn't really move the needle much for the Bucks. Not that they're a close rival at this stage, but the Lakers did nothing, hilariously so, and still suck. And, LeBron's hourglass tweet apparently came to nothing. And meanwhile, we made some nice, healthy moves around the edges. We got some great defensive versatility. We've still got a roster spot open to be active in the buyout market. It's beginning to be like classic Brad, just like 10 out of 10 smart decisions, not necessarily fireworks, but like you couldn't have done it any better.
I would have liked to see him outbid the Jazz for Fontecchio. And look, we're getting into the weeds a little bit on that one.
We are.
Like we now have the 30th overall pick as it stands today. At worst, it drops to like 26, right? Like just if everybody on the Celtics gets injured, and all of a sudden we go 500 for the rest of the season. Fontecchio, I know I was Fontecchio pilled. I think I was higher on Fontecchio than than Fontecchio himself, maybe.
Yeah.
But like, if all it would have taken was that 30th overall pick to outbid the the Pistons for him, then I think that they should have done that. But is he going to be the reason we win the title or not? Definitely not. So like, who really cares? But thank you, Ben.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so that's the one spot I would have wished Brad maybe when it was a little more aggressive. But like, that does not mean that he can't move that pick later at the deadline. And now all of a sudden you can use that Jaden Springer $4 million for something or whatever. I just trust Brad so much at this point. Like Tillman in particular, a move that I know you had been bandied around. But coming up to this deadline was not a name that was really talked about.
Yeah.
And for him to go and do that and everyone be like, oh, fuck, this makes so much sense. There's a chance that he becomes like their Horford replacement. It's like, and then you start finding all these stats and all these videos from smart people being like, yeah, even before the trade that are like, yeah, Xavier Tillman's incredible. It's like, Brad just hitting singles, dare I say.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tillman was a name that had been brought up a lot since the Grant trade. Like, admittedly, sure, it was in the outer rim of our universe, but, it's a name, like you said, that had been bandied about. So it wasn't a total surprise, but usually, like, those names that are on the tip of our tongue, it's like the least likely move that Brad ends up making. It's always someone that has barely been mentioned. So for him to just go out and actually acquire a guy that many people were like, yeah, get this guy, like, he's good. Was kind of refreshing from a fandom perspective. Who got Olynyk? I believe he's in Toronto.
Raptors. Dude, Masai, dude. He can't stop trading for
Canada.
Canadians. Canadians, dude.
What are they doing? Like, I just don't understand what the hell the Raptors are doing. It makes zero sense to me.
They're accumulating Canadians.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah, they got RJ. They
All
got
in.
Kelly. Yeah.
Just like I wanted the Celtics to keep accumulating white guys. It's just, Caruso, Lowry, Fontecchio, Saric. Like I was on the Paul stream yesterday, like naming guys, and everybody was like making fun of me for being like, oh, of course the Boston guys listed 4 white guys as his first 4 trades. And like, I was like, oh shit, man. And then my brain went in, couldn't think of any non-white guys. Like, we can't get Gordon Hayward. What are we gonna do? I was like,
we're screwed.
Olynyk.
Got to rewire your brain.
No one traded for DeLon Wright. Like, Washington couldn't get 1 second-round pick for DeLon Wright. Like, no, I don't understand.
Does he make too much money? I think he's on
8, yeah.
Right. Yeah, that might
be the problem.
So it's now 7:28 a.m., which is 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the States there. So I think it's pretty safe to say that all the trades that have going to be made have been made, as I struggle to talk here, as my brain is still waking up. Also, at this point in the morning, I got to get to work. We've got 130 people in the stream here. So while you're here, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the stream and do all those things that help us with the algorithm. Spoonie Jake, like, we're not putting this on the podcast feed, so it's all pretty lax here. Do you guys want to keep going? What do you want to wrap
Hey,
this one up?
I'm here. I'm drunk now, so
I'll
for
stick around
Spoonie-
for a little bit. I'm gonna have to jump off in a few, like 10, 15. But yeah, we could chop it
right.
up for a little bit longer, Jake.
I'll
if you
stay in
want.
if there's people in the Discord. I'll hang around. I'll just.
All right.
I got a long day
It's
ahead
a
of
great
me.
day. It's a great day to be a Celtics fan. Good things have
Well,
happened.
I'm
For
drunk
context, for a lot of Doc, I'm glad Doc Rivers is here because part of the reason I have
Hold
all
on.
day is because Oh, Spoonie, this the part of the reason I have all day. I was supposed to be working at 8:30 in the morning teaching swimming, but if you're coming to the playback streams where we're watching the games every day, you absolutely should be there. I was talking about how I can touch the rim despite being 5'7", and my dad was in this chat and he called me out, being like, "I've never seen Jake do it," which he has now texted me after this injury that I've sustained, saying, "I didn't say you couldn't. I said I just haven't seen it." But so he did that. Everybody started making fun of me, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go do a plyometric program and make sure I can touch the rim because I was about an inch off my prime of 18, 19 years old of touching the rim. And I have this sandstone wall outside my house that I've been doing it for like 3 weeks now. This plyometric program where you jump higher eventually. And
How's that going?
Oh, well, it's been going great. It's been going awesome. And usually there's one wall that's like pretty high and like I can do it if I'm fresh and locked in, but I usually put down like 2 layers of towels because if I do fall, I'm going to fuck my shins up or something up on this sandstone wall. And for some reason on Monday when I'm doing this workout, I was like, fuck it. The towels are usually in this one spot there, another spot. Could be bothered. I'll be fine. Last set, doing the box jumps, I fucking third jump of the set, I slice my shin just clean open on this sandstone wall doing box jumps. And I looked down. It didn't even hurt that much. I looked down. I was like, fuck. I looked down and there's like a monster chunk like out of my shin where I can like, once I start bleeding, I could like see the inside of my body, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna have to go to the hospital, get 10 stitches on my shin," and so that's why I'm not working, is because I'm a competitive idiot, and I have to prove everybody wrong, and I have to add 1.5 centimeters to my vertical leap so I can touch the rim. But I'll be back. 2 weeks recovery. It's kind of like me and Jalen gardening. It was just like, I had to,
Yeah,
You get to
the
rest.
Came out of nowhere. Yeah,
What's-
the wall
active
came out of
recovery.
nowhere.
Well, what would actually be less surprising or more surprising is like we get to a day before the playoffs and it's like Jaylen Brown has had 10 stitches on his hand gardening or 10 stitches on his knee doing box jumps preparing for the playoffs. Like they're both equally believable.
Not shocking.
Yeah,
How dare you?
I'll take the upper extremity injury for Jalen all day.
Yeah.
I've been scrolling through Sixers Reddit because someone in the
so
comments
good.
called out. Yeah, Kyle called out that they are not happy. This is exactly what you want to see. This is amazing. This is what
Ben,
the trade
can
deadline's all
Can you
about.
just scroll up just a little bit? Couple more. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
This one?
Sorry. This is no. Keep going.
This is good radio.
Stop.
This
They're
one?
begging for Killian Hayes.
Oh no.
They're
That's
begging for
evil laugh.
Killian Hayes. Springer's
Please, no.
better than he is.
Dude.
This is good stuff. This is so good. All right, I am going to have to bounce out of here and get to work. But I've sent you guys this Twitter list if you want to bring that up. Not that there's going to be any news broken. So I will say farewell to you guys and to the chat. Thanks for joining us. Have fun with Spoonie and Jake. And guys, I'm sure we'll get a pod out, an actual organized, tidy, recorded podcast at some point in the next 24 hours. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to watch it live and you're new to this channel, subscribe because we do them all live here on YouTube. And we have a lot of fun. Join the Discord. The links are in the description. I'm going to stop rambling now and leave you guys to it, but this has been fun. Cheers, guys. Enjoy.
Later,
dude.
Ben. Dude, so Philly tucked under the apron so they can do buyout guys, which is kind of annoying, but like They
but like
basically they're tanking this year,
Yeah.
right?
Well, like that's more of an indicator that they don't believe. Like, because there would have
Right.
absolutely been moves out there they could have made with combining Rocco salary with Melton or using Tobias with the picks they got from the Clippers trade to make an impact deal. The Grizzlies have waived Victor Oladipo. Talk about another high upside buyout guy. I'm assuming he's just absolutely cooked. Like,
Yeah.
Otto Porter
I think so.
at least was good 2 years ago. Otto Porter, I mean, Oladipo hasn't been good for since 2019. Like, we're talking about another Olympics ago since Oladipo was good. So, but I could talk myself into it. We want Cookie. Who's Cookie?
That's my cat, and that is my wife commenting. Hello, dear.
We do want Cookie though, absolutely. Where do you work? I'll call in a bomb threat. Yeah, Jamboy. If you could call in the bomb threat. You know, we take that stuff seriously in Australia. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Yeah, don't do that. At least don't tell him Jamboy where he works. All right, Gordon Hayward. Let's just talk about that one briefly. To the OKC Thunder for Trey Mann and Bertans.
You're the OKC Thunder whisperer, Jake. So I got to hear it.
Well, we all understand the Gordon Hayward situation. It's like, if he's healthy, he's going to be a massive addition, like a monster add to that team.
Yeah.
But he's just like not going to be healthy.
Never.
He literally hasn't been healthy in 5 years.
Like,
So-
this is what's going to happen. He's going to look awesome.
Yeah, he's going to
for
look awesome.
for 3 weeks, maybe a month, and then something's going to happen. Oh my God.
Oh,
Shit. I'm sorry.
oh.
There we go. All right, my bad. Yeah, I get the thinking for OKC because like another big wing connector next to Jalen will be awesome, and next to Shea, but like you just can't like how many playoff series did we see? It's just like, man, if we had healthy Gordon Hayward, man, this would be different. We would have wrapped up that Raptors series in the bubble in 5 with healthy.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have swept them with healthy Gordon. And
absolutely.
then he's just gone.
It's one of the biggest what ifs in Celtics history, in my opinion. Obviously, Len Bias is at number 1, but and Reggie Lewis. But Hayward may as well have died when he broke his ankle, dude.
Yeah, right.
Like, he like, because him, honest. Actually, this is kind of fucked up, but like,
Do it.
him being alive was almost worse.
No, what?
because we just like constantly had to deal with him being in and out, and specifically in that second year when he was rehabbing, when there was like he was getting minutes and everybody was like, he's fucked. And there were so many guys, Terry, Mook, that were like, I should be playing ahead of Gordon. And so and he was like, oh, I'm coming back. He's missing bunnies. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm not saying it would have been
I
better.
wish this guy was dead. Yeah.
I'm not saying I wish he was dead. I'm just saying for the Celtics, as far as wins and losses go, it
From a
may have-
team's construction standpoint.
it's like I don't want Giannis to tear his ACL, but objectively, it'd be
It
better
would
for the
have been
Celtics.
Improvement.
Objectively,
yeah.
that's better for the Celtics if everybody that's good at basketball that's not on the Celtics dies. That's just a fact, and I don't
Yeah.
want that to happen. Obviously.
But
like, that's just the way the world works. And so, if his injury had been so bad that let's take one step down. Four of his toes got.
he literally broke his ankle and essentially died. Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Rip.
Let's say,
Rip.
yeah, let's just say like he broke his ankle and he lost 3 toes.
Yeah, like,
That-
a very common occurrence with an ankle turn.
That would have at least ended his basketball career, but he would have stayed alive, which would have been good for everybody.
All right, but he was good in the bubble year. He was
like, good,
pretty good.
but like
and
that,
then he got hurt again.
That second year of Tatum's career where we had Kyrie was back and he was awesome still.
Oh yeah.
Second year Tatum and Hayward. If you take him out, who's playing 25, 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, but it was closer to 30.
If you take him out, all of a sudden the chemistry on that team may have been a lot better. And that was the biggest issue on that team was this is like, everybody thought they should have been playing more and getting more touches. Let's have a look here. 18, 19. Was it 18, 19? I think so. Yeah.
When did COVID hit?
Yes. Yeah, no, he played
20,
he
right?
played one game.
18, 19.
5 minutes, and then next year he played 72 games and he started 18. So he actually didn't start, but he played 18 minutes a game. Oh no, sorry. 25.9. 26 minutes per game. If you don't have that, it's like
I wonder what his on-off. Let me see if I can find his on-offs real quick. How are we talking about?
Hey, look. This is what happens when
I'm into it. This
is what happens on a dead deadline. And Jake's had. This is how much Fireball I've had since 5 a.m. I don't know.
Yeah, that'll do it, dude. Yeah, I've been. Hopefully, my wife's not still listening, but I've had ciders. So.
So
yeah, hold on. I'm gonna see his on-offs real quick. So we were technically slightly better with him on the court, plus 0.3, but he's also was being forced. Yeah, no, not great. And he was basically, Brad was forcing him to play with all of our best players, even though he clearly was not good. Anyway, yeah. I'll watch the kid when he gets home, all right?
Is that the key to my nauseating morning energy? I am a morning guy. Part of one of the best things about this time zone as far as NBA goes is like the latest a game ends is like 5 p.m. Like if West Coast is now starting at 2 p.m., right? And so I watch Pelicans Clippers, and so it's like the game's over by 4:35, and so I'm early to bed, I'm early to rise kind of guy, you know. Up and that's kind of the way of a surfer's life. So that's mostly why. The fireball is definitely helping though, Mary Poppins. Let's not gonna lie to you.
The fireball and tea, the perfect mixer.
Yeah.
Not a morning guy, as my wife will probably attest in the chat quickly. Absolutely despise the morning. Big time stay up late, dude. But yeah, Warriors did nothing. Like
so weird.
They can't. Like, so let me get your thoughts on this, because I know I was listening to, I can't remember if it was Vicini or Danny LaRue, might have been Simmons. Actually, I think it was Simmons' podcast, and he's like, they should trade Clay. It's the best thing they could do, but they just absolutely never will. And like, Danny Ainge would have traded Klay Thompson at this deadline for something. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you just got to be a heartless bastard.
Yeah.
Like, Danny Ainge, he doesn't suck, but I don't know, man.
I could almost make the argument for a team trading for Clay, because so Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, superstars that struggled to accept they were washed in their superstar forms became valuable once they accepted they were washed, right? Like Westbrook's legitimately helpful for the Clippers now.
Vince Carter is like the ultimate of that dude, yeah.
So there are guys that like, but Al Horford, I mean, like, never even went through a denial phase.
He's just like slowly, as he's gotten worse, like he's been so perfect.
He's literally perfect. It's like, what's the maximum amount of minutes I should be playing for my capability? I'm just gonna track along that line.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, now it's 20, and now it's 24 minutes a game, and now I remain one of the elite role players in the NBA. Whereas Carmelo Anthony still believed that he was an elite player 3 years, 4 years too long. Same with Russell Westbrook. Whereas Klay Thompson will get there eventually. So if you're a team, it's like, do I sign trade for Klay Thompson? No one's fucking signing Klay Thompson for more than $15 million per year.
No, yeah,
like no way, dude. 20 max. that would shock me. That would really surprise me. And so, but if
nobody
you sign
has cap space either.
Yeah.
You know?
But if you're like the Magic and you can get Klay Thompson on like a 3 for 45, 15 million per, and you put him in the starting lineup and he's like, or coming off the bench, and he just accepts that he's like this 20-minute per game shooter, bench scorer guy, I think he could have real value, because I think the problem is that he still believes that he's this championship starting guy, and he's not. And I understand why he still thinks that, but I don't think the Celtics should do this, but I think our team could absolutely buy low on Klay Thompson, or should have. But now, I don't know what's going to happen, because no one traded for him. So it's like the only team that has his bird rights are the Warriors, I think, and I don't know. So.
Yeah, because once he's expired, right, you can't trade somebody once they've hit unrestricted free agency. So
well, guess what? We're not commies, dude. This is a free market out here. You can post whatever you want, bro.
Yeah, I live in West Virginia, buddy.
Yeah, brother. I'm in Tasmania. We're all incest down here. It's all good. Whatever you want.
Yeah, I like, and Klay's still shooting basically 38% from 3 on high volume. It's interesting you bring up the Magic, because he's like exactly what they need.
Right?
Like, he would have been so good. I don't think they have like the dead salary to trade for him, but
No.
Their cap sheet must be pretty clean, because their best players are all on rookie deals. So that would be a interesting, like 3 for 45, something like that. But
speaking of the Magic, like another team that like not a clear contender to win the title, but a team that Celtics could see in the first round, probably maybe the second round.
Yeah.
And like, I know they've given us trouble in the last couple of years, but we saw what we could do to them in those 2 games when the Celtics were playing their best. And I was like semi-concerned they would make a move for a competent guard that could like shoot and stuff. They just have no shooting, man. And when you get to a playoff series, they just can't score, man. I watched them play the Pistons last week, and it's just like they cannot fucking score. Like, I love Paolo and I love Franz. I like Wendell Carter. No one guards Suggs. No one, like, Fultz has taken like 1 3 all year.
yeah.
And so like now they become a much less of a landmine to me in the first round.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, there's something about Franz and Paulo just want to operate in like the same areas. And it's not that they like totally get in each other's way, but neither of them are like great spot up shooters, which is like why the Jays have always worked, because you have to guard them both extremely tight off ball. But like, if Franz is going to work on a pick and roll with like Batatse or something like that, you can like keep in touch of Paulo. But if he's like spacing out to the corner, you can kind of ignore Paulo out there.
You absolutely can, dude.
Yeah, and it's just like a really difficult way to build an offense. And like, Suggs is shooting the ball fine, but it's sort of like the he's shooting it okay on like okay-ish volume, but you're right. He just like doesn't get guarded out there. So that's the minimum. Like, he needs to up his volume. He needs to up like being able to maybe pull a good amount of threes off the dribble when people go under on pick and roll against him too. He's just not there. I don't think he's ever he's more Marcus Smart to me than he is like lead ball handler type. Like, I'll give this guy the ball and let him run the offense.
Yeah. The Magic, I'm still floored by the lack of moves by the contenders.
Yeah.
Like, it's really shocking to me. Like, I'm just seeing some of the tweets coming up here, and I'm like, very weird. Do they just think the Celtics are so good? They're like, fuck it, it's not worth it. Like, I'm like, all right, yeah. I guess now, but Greenies, that's just some Cater Kool-Aid. There's 0% chance to me that Cater gets converted now.
Well, especially with Tillman, like why would we take on that? Like, that's going to cost us like $7 million in tax. Yeah. Like, why would we do that?
Because everybody's going to watch Wicks syndicated.
That's right. Watch Wick's show with Donald Faison.
Fucking hell. But I was going to say, some of these, like, let's go through some of these other deals here, but like.
Yeah, let's do it. Hold on. I'll get the Reddit up.
like I know we're talking. We went slightly off tangent on Hayward, thanks to me, I think. But if he is able to be healthy-ish, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If he is healthy, he's gonna fucking be perfect for OKC. They could win the if he stays healthy, they could win the West and the title. But it's just like, yeah, you're not that high. Maybe I'm too high because of my bet that I have on them.
I just think it's so difficult when you've got a young team like that.
Sure.
To just win. Like, when's the last team? We always talk about Tatum. Oh my God, that is not coming.
Well,
at all.
It's the Thunder and the Celtics. Those are the two teams that are the last two teams that have made really deep runs with their best players being really young.
Like, do you think Oklahoma City can beat us in the finals with a healthy Gordon Hayward? I know you want to say yes, but like, you can really scheme around Shea not being able to shoot in 7 games.
I just as good as the Celtics are, I just still don't think that they're like the Nuggets went 16-4 in the playoffs last offseason. I just don't think that we have that in us still.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, no. I tend to agree with you. Like, I don't think we're gonna roll through the playoffs. I think we'll probably roll through the first round.
We could.
This year.
We could.
Yeah.
There is a universe where we're like everything clicks, and we've obviously been awesome. We've absolutely been sliding now, and I'm a little concerned that like we need to peak again. Like we need another peak stretch, right? Like if we go through this next 25 games and we maintain the 1 seed by like 2 games, but it's like the Hawks game where it was close and then we win. The Grizzlies game where it was close in the second quarter, we win by 40. We lose some games to really good teams here and there. But we don't really have like a 10 to 15 game stretch where we like really fucking look awesome. I'm going to be like I'm not going to be worried necessarily, but I'm not going to be like we're winning the title confident.
I totally get it. Like, the playoffs are terrifying, right? Like, the Hawks giving you a scare in the first round is in the cards, no doubt about that. But also, I do think we're a step above the Thunder when it comes to the playoffs. I just think it's a different type of game, and like they play at 100% every single night, which is like credit to Dagnall, credit to like that team. But there's ways you can scheme around that. I just think like they were great. They were really solid in the playoffs last year, but
well, they won one play-in game and they lost the next one, and so like, yeah, I don't know. I think Shea is legit top. He's having a top 5 season. I think he's a top 5 guy.
Yeah, definitely. And those guys win in the playoffs.
But like front court wise, Chet's the only guy now.
Yeah.
KP did play versus the Thunder, I'm pretty sure. I think. Right? Pretty sure.
I don't remember. Yeah, he did, because Chet hit those 2 big pick and pop threes over him, right?
Yeah. That's right.
To ice the game. Yeah.
Yeah, I would remember it because I would have an excuse in the chamber.
Exactly. Yeah, I'd be ready to go. Like, KP didn't play.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
It's like that first Minnesota loss. I'm like, oh, KP didn't play. Yeah. It doesn't count.
I do think that the West has the chance to really be a bloodbath in a way that there's a world where it's not for the Celtics. There's also a world where all of a sudden we get the Sixers as Embiid gets kind of healthy in round 1 and the Heat in round 2 and the Bucks in round 3, where it's like 6-7-7 again, and you get to the finals and you're just fucking tired again.
Yeah.
My point is I want to see one 10 to 15 game stretch where we we're the shit again. Because we've been good, not great, which is fine considering the schedule. But I want to see post All-Star break at some point 10 games where we're like, I see it. I want to see it. As opposed to being like, I know that it's there for the playoffs. I want to see it for a small stretch in the regular season, and then we can coast to the end. But I want to see it for... I keep lowering the number because I want to like give myself built-in excuses to be like, oh, it's fine. It's fine.
2 games.
Yeah, they looked good for 2 games in a row. I think 10-game stretch where this is like, even if they don't win, go 10-0, but it's like you can just see like it's all there. That's what I would like to see now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And like the East, people talk about the West being really deep, and I think that's fair. But the East has a lot, like we saw it last night. Like the Hawks can kind of get at you.
Yeah.
Like they got talent. You know what I mean? Like the Magic have talent. A lot of those lower seeds have talent. I think this is the year the Heat Magic dies. I really do, dude. I just like it. I don't like that team at all. And like Lowry was a big part of the Black Magic last year. Like he really just seemed to be. And so is
they got Jaime Jaquez now.
Vincent,
fresh Black Magic. No, but you are right. Vincent and Strus were a huge part of it.
Yeah. So but hey, I probably should jump off of here, Jake, and go do some stuff before my wife and kid get home. Something practical. So
let's end it.
Yeah, we want to end it.
And we've been on for 2 hours. We're still at 95, but
which is awesome.
Shout out everybody here. Yeah. We'll come on and hop on soon.
Like and subscribe if you haven't, please. Thank you.
If I can stay on for a bit more with some people, but if you can just stay here for 2 minutes while I pee, and then I can
go
come
for
back,
it. All right, I'll
hang for a
I'll
second.
pontificate here. Okay, so talking about the Heat, I just man, it just seems like you can't let Tony Lewis in the chat here. They've just let so much talent walk out the door with Gabe Vincent and Strus, and Jaquez is great, but we saw in that first game we played the Heat this year that Tatum got Jaquez a few times, and he's a good defensive player, but I don't think he's quite as opportunistic on the defensive end as Vincent was, who just gets his hand in passing lanes and just gets at your dribble and stuff like that. He's more of just kind of a straight up guy. Julius Rickles, what does that mean, Jake, giving off Drake vibes? Are you referring to the most recent Drake leak? But I don't know. It just feels like they can't keep getting away with it. At some point, it's going to be over. And I've been saying that about LeBron. And he's kept doing it. Maybach Sports, do I think the Celtics can win a championship shooting threes type offense? Yes. I think if they generate good threes, they'll be fine. They'll be great. And I think they've diversified the offense with post-ups, things like that, in a way that makes them a lot less, or their lower variance offense, and the threes they're getting are good. So, yes, I think they can. Some guy somewhere says gravity is an illusion. Everything's an illusion if you really think about it. Go D-Zilla. Yeah, we saw KP come in. The Heat had to go away from their goofy ass zone defense basically immediately when he gets the ball in that high post. Drake Eisenberg. Good teams shoot a lot of threes. That's what happens. So anyway, I think putting it nicely, just to sum up, I wish Gordon Hayward died.
Look, Mary Poppins, did I wash my hands? I mean, look, dude, who washes their hands when they pee? Come on, grow up, dude.
All right, Jake, buddy, keep holding down the fort. Everybody in the chat, this was great. I will talk to y'all soon. Later.
Hell yeah, dude. Good to see you. Okay, I'm gonna open up the Celtics blog Slack here. I'm happy to hang because I'm not working today because I split my shin open. But if I message the Celtics blog chat, who knows who I could get on the stream. Let's message some of the playback guys. Because why not, you know? So we get Robbie or Jack Simone. I'd love to have someone. Let's message Jack Simone, Sam France. All right, what up? Mental note: do not shake Jake's hand. Look, hey man, are you peeing on your hands? Got my smoothie here, prepared early, just in case I get hungry. Which here we go. So we got Fireball and smoothie. I do think it's time for a swig of Fireball though. Look, are there rules on YouTube? Like, can I swig straight from the Fireball bottle, or is it safer for me to just pour it into the cup? I think that's probably smarter. All right. Tell me you got 92 crazy fans. All right, that's a good call, actually, Julius. Thirsty. We got 92 people thirsty for more stuff. More stuff. More action. All right. Should I just fucking run through the trades? Let's do it. I'm still floored by the fact that none of our contenders made. Here we go. Ben's messaged me primary layout. Oh, there we go. Look at this. That's right. Couple of guys living their life, chugging some whiskey.